And that's normally the case. I mean, everybody's had some work to be done. You don't want to be playing the best football. But let's dig a bit deeper into the Cats. I know you had a good look at them, Gary, and you've got some views on them, and also perhaps some views on the way we position our footballers.
Yeah. So we did them on the weekend, and Nick will show you some stuff in a moment. I don't think there's a team in the modern era where the process of putting a team in a position...
Back pocket, full back. ...is as outdated, and we all do it. We do it here, the AFL do it, the papers do it, the television, the footy record do it. We've been doing it since Bobby Davis, Lou Richards and Jack Dyer had from the back line.
And it's a nonsense in terms of, you know, what... They've got about 5, I reckon, that we need to redefine their roles, and they're so critical to what they do. Blitzarves, first amongst it. Stewart, Smith, Tui, and I reckon you can throw Henderson, although he's a bit more staple, stay at home. In amongst that group, boys, is what makes them so hard to score against, and we'll show you how it all works.
That's a premiership profile.
Yeah, and on the weekend, and the ability to get the ball inside 50 against them is so critical, and then once you do get it in there, you're generally outnumbered because of the revolving notion of these players who we have to rename and put a different title on because they just cover each other so beautifully well. And, you know, Richmond are off, they're off their tucker a little bit.
So if Isaac Smith is a wingman, what is he now?
Well, he's a wingman that takes fullback kick-ins who then gets involved in about 6 chains on the way through to the other end of the ground.
So what's it all look like, Nick? I know you've spent a lot of time in the lab.
Yeah, so, I mean, time and again yesterday doing the game with Gaz, you looked behind the ball. Richmond were able to create a turnover, they win it back.
Which has been their strength in the past.
It's been their strength and their ability to score from it. And here it goes here. Richmond win it. But then they look up and automatically Geelong have just been able to create numbers behind the footy. So Blitzarves in this situation, he started up in the middle of the ground
he's
as
on Lambert or he's on Baker as well. So he picks up Lambert or Baker who go into the middle of the ground and he just peels back here.
Yeah.
So you get a turnover. Look what you're confronted with. Look at that. Tom Lynch didn't touch the footy for a quarter and a half. Didn't touch the ball for a quarter and a half.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're right with your redefinition of the players because it was Blitzarves there who was basically playing just as a centre-back player. Here again, their ability to work together. So Lynch finally creates some separation between him and Henderson, and it's Stewart, the one who was the +1, who's able to read the play, come across, intercept. Again,
this one's the best example, Rui. Just watch the process through the middle of the ground of everyone folding back. So Stewart goes, he's spare, he goes. Watch them all then readjust on the way down through the middle of the ground. That can be close. That can be Myers pushing up the cover. So all of a sudden you're looking up as a team, you win, you get your turnover, which has been Richmond's strength. You look up, and if it's not Stewart, it's Blitzarves. It's not Blitzarves. Henderson comes off his man. So
it's working.
This is the last 3 weeks. So I think if you're going to beat Geelong, Brownie, you've got to go back and say, what are those blokes doing? Where's Smith playing? Because you know how to play on Smith. He starts on the wing and he's gone. So what are you doing with him? Do I go with him or not?
So the old school whiteboard, we're throwing that out.
Well,
the half-back line, the full-back line.
It's never been more irrelevant with this side because Blitzarves is another classic. So I had him down for Baker. I had him down for Lambert. Then I had him down for Chol. Then he was on Lynch. His ability to cover anything and just play where he plays is hard to contend with.
Do you think this is the advantage of having the most experienced lineup? Now, there's a lot of naysayers, they had criticism for that coming into the season. Is that the advantage of having a very experienced lineup that they have a licence? A lot of players in that back half especially have a licence.
Yeah, I think Chris Scott coaches in a way that's very hard for opposition teams to get their head around. They're all in on this.
You haven't seen anybody bring that to account?
Not in recent times. And we haven't, look, to be fair, we haven't been at the ground every single time. To see it yesterday...
It's hard to pick up if you're not actually at the ground live. But, I mean, the proof's in the numbers because they're not just restricting scores when teams go in. They don't give you the opportunity to go in. They're conceding an average of about 44 inside.
A good pressure team around the footy.
So one of the conundrums Chris Scott has got, and it's a great conundrum, is that when they landed Jeremy Cameron, all of a sudden the bloke who was going to take Jeremy Cameron's spot, Asava Ratugolea, became an extra. What do we do with that extra? And that's the question I've got for you, learned gentlemen. What does he do with Asava Ratugolea, who on the weekend played as a forward and played particularly well, won just about every one-on-one contest? But that's Jeremy Cameron's spot, is it? Or can they play Cameron as a half-forward?
Not even winning the one-on-ones, Jared. He only had 6 possessions.
These are the cream, Gary.
Yeah. The other stuff was his contest and his willingness to go and fly 2 against 3, 1 against 2, and create drop of the ball for Myers, Dolehouse, and close.
Yeah, so the goals were secondary. What was really impressive, I think, to start off in the first half, I think he maybe had 2 possessions to half time.
Well, he mustn't have made any mistakes because you got a ranking of 16.1. You've kicked some goals, you've won some intercepted.
You got 4 coaches' votes, which had him from the coach's point of view the third highest rated. In answer to your question, though, it is a challenge. So Stanley, Ratugolea, Cameron, Hawkins, Blitzarves. I think Chris Scott wants to play them all, and it's just getting the right mix.
He had an appetite for the contest yesterday that I hadn't seen from him before.
Started last week, to be fair. I reckon last week was the sign where he started to throw himself around into contest, and big ticks for the Cats.
Chris Scott likes him, and Chris Scott,
who wouldn't?
Yeah, he does like him, so he'll want to have him in there somewhere. And Reece Stanley obviously did enough to keep his spot within the lineup, and I think their perfect world, they'd like to see Stanley and Ratugolea both playing because that gives them the option of playing Blitzars if he's needed as a full-time defender and a floater.
And you know why he works? Because Tom Hawkins is the most selfless forward I've ever seen.
Having a great year again.
And having another unbelievable... He doesn't care if he's kicking them or not. He's happy to make space for Ratugolea. Had another really good game, Tommy Hawkins. So they're in really... They've won 10 of their last 11. They're in great shape.
Well, the Demons have...